What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with MyMMANews, and today's guest will be fighting Felicia Spencer at UFC Vegas 42 on November 13th. I'm speaking to Leah Letson, who has a great story too, spending a lot of time in the Air Force as well as fighting. So, a lot to talk about here today. Let's welcome Leah into the program. Leah, thank you so much for being here and taking the time out of your schedule to be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
Yeah, no problem at all. And we'll start with the obvious thing right now. You're wrapping up fight camp right now. So just talk a little bit about your camp and how it went as you've been preparing for this fight.
Um, this has probably been the easiest and smoothest fight camp of my career, just because I've been, with all my health issues I've had over the past few years, which I'll probably talk about in a little bit. I had to train smarter, not harder. So I've actually been able to focus on recovery and just training harder for shorter amounts of time rather than frequency. I was training for previous fights like 6 times a day and eating less than 800 calories. I didn't do any of that stuff for this fight. I've been able to eat really healthy. The UFC Performance Institute's been helping me out with nutrition, and I've been actually able to function way better in training because of training smarter and not harder. And it's probably been the best camp of my career.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about some of those health issues now, actually. So you mentioned there it's your best camp you've ever had so far. It's actually, this is going to be your first fight now in quite some time, your first fight since 2018. I thought when I noticed that, like, oh, okay, she hasn't fought in 2018. You do a lot with the Air Force. You probably had to miss time for your active duty. No, it was health issues. So you just hinted on some of that there. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you were dealing with that kept you out of the sport for so long now.
I've had pretty extreme health issues, so I've been working with a specialist for the past 3 years now. My thyroid, my hormones, my gut biome, even my cells down to the mitochondrial level were all messed up. So I had to fix all of that stuff before I could be healthy enough to fight again. So I've been working with, like I said, a specialist on a lot of my thyroid and hormone issues and getting that back on track, because if that's not functioning properly, nothing in your body's functioning properly. So I actually was close to hitting organ failure at one point. That's how severe my health issues were. And I didn't have any idea. I just knew something was wrong because I was feeling sick and really run down and tired all the time. And my body just kind of shut down after my UFC debut. And I knew something was wrong. So I reached out to a bunch of different specialists, and I've been working with one in Pennsylvania now for almost 3 years. And he's helped me tremendously. And for me, overcoming all of these health issues has been such an accomplishment that I'm so excited to be back in the ability to even fight again is such a huge accomplishment for me.
And talk about that road to recovery too, because I'm sure that had to be difficult. You mentioned you were almost an organ failure, so you go from pretty much being in a very serious state of possibly getting close to death to now just days away now from fighting the UFC. So just talk about that road to recovery and just how difficult that was, and kind of just taking each day at a time and getting better like that.
Well, probably the hardest part of all of that was the mental aspect of it. Just finding out that I had such severe health issues. Not only did I feel horrible every day, but I could barely function. I wasn't even thinking straight. And then to be told, hey, you have to take a break from training and you might not ever fight again. That is probably the most devastating thing a fighter can hear, because this is my passion, right? Like, this is what I felt like I was put on this earth to do. So to have that potentially taken away was absolutely heartbreaking. And I had to go through a lot of battles with both depression and anxiety to get through all of that. And I had been working with the sports psychologist that the UFC has, and he's helped me tremendously. But a lot of it was a mental battle just to keep going and not give up on myself every single day. And I actually want to thank my fans for that, because there were several times where I was very close to giving up and just saying, maybe I can never do this again. And I almost gave up on myself. But it was the fans that would comment on my social media posts and tell me that they still believed in me and they still loved me. That's what kept me going. And I have a very good, close support group of friends and family that has helped me keep going. And so I just want to shout out to my fans right now for keeping me going and believing in me even when I didn't necessarily believe in myself.
Now, I've been seeing this trend a lot recently, not only in mixed martial arts, but other sports as well. And it's going to be starting to become a pretty big topic here about the whole mental side of the sport. And not only in this sport, but other sports too. A lot of people are spending a lot of time with working with a mental coach and focusing on themselves and their mental health. Just how important is it to focus on that? Like, I feel it's a very overlooked thing that everybody just thinks of you guys as these superstar athletes and everything is perfect in the world, but you're a normal human being like everybody else. You have problems. So just talk about how important it is to focus on the mental side of the sport.
I can't stress how important it is because I'd say, I know fighting is a very physical thing, right? But I'd say a majority of a fight is won by your mentality. If you go into the fight and you're not confident, you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to win that fight. Even if you have the skills to do it, just because you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to push yourself to that next level when you need to. And so focusing on dealing with your anxiety and your just when things get tough, not giving up on yourself, that is super important. I think that's probably one of the most important things that you can train, not just training your body, but training your mind is probably equally, if not more important than training your body.
And one other thing now, before we get into more fight-specific things here, before you mentioned about was it a nutritionist you're dealing with in Pennsylvania? I'm from Pennsylvania, in the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. I was just wondering, like, who you were dealing with and what area they're from. Because I know the Hershey Medical Center, I know there's a lot with stuff like that. I was just curious as to who you're working with.
I'm actually not sure exactly where in Pennsylvania he is, just because I've never been there. We do a lot of video chats, and then he sends my labs to like local places. But his name is Dr. Eric Bulkovich. If you guys wanted to look him up, he's amazing. He's the reason that I'm able to keep fighting. So I can't thank him enough. And actually, he's going to be flying out to Vegas for my fight, so I'm super excited.
All right, very nice. Glad to see that the Keystone State is doing well and helping people out there. And now let's get into some more fight-specific things now. So we were just spend quite a bit of a time there talking about what kept you out of the sport. So now let's just talk about how excited you are to finally, once again, get to do your passion and step inside of the UFC octagon yet again.
There's no words for how excited I am. This is, like I said, my passion. This is what I was meant to do, and to go through everything I've gone through, face all of that adversity, and be able to take a fight is such a victory in itself for me. Obviously, I'm going to win this fight, right? But for me, I'm just trying to celebrate the fact that I'm actually able to physically do this again, and I didn't give up and I didn't quit, and I'm healthy and I'm able to fight again. I can't tell you how rewarding that is for me, and to get back into doing something that I absolutely love.
So here we are, we're talking about this great story. Then there's also the other side of the coin, which is there are, I guess you could say, statistics or analytics or these things that people in my position have to talk about. And the one that would stick out in that is, it is your first fight in quite a bit of time. Every fighter has a different viewpoint on ring rust. I just want to get your stance on whether or not you believe in ring rust, and then kind of what you've been doing to kind of get yourself prepared, because it's been obviously a few years since you've actually stepped inside of the cage and fought.
Right. Well, for me, this isn't the first time I had to take a training break. I had to take a year off of training back in 2017 when I got deployed for the Air Force. So this isn't my first time coming back after a long break. Obviously, this is longer than just 1 year, but I didn't feel like too much ring rust when I got back in there again. It's kind of like riding a bike. You know, you've done it so many times, and I'm a professional. I've been doing it since I was an amateur. I feel like it's just going to feel like another fight to me. And I know exactly what that feels like. And even to help mitigate that even more, I've been going to an MMA gym and fighting or sparring people in a cage that's the same size as the UFC regulation cage, and just getting that feel of sparring somebody inside a cage and having a bunch of people watch and kind of cheer and like simulating that fight scenario. So it won't feel too unfamiliar to me.
And now let's talk about Felicia a little bit here, who of course you're fighting. Just talk about her as an opponent, what you've seen out of her, and what you think it's going to take to get a victory over her on fight night.
Well, I've seen all of her fights actually, and she's very, very tough. Obviously, she lasted all 5 rounds with Amanda Nunes, so I can't discount how tough she is. I think it's going to be a 3-round war because of that. I'm not counting on finishing her. If I get a finish, that's great, but I'm not going to count on it. She likes to pressure forward a lot, come forward, brawl, and then hold you against the cage and potentially take you down. So obviously, I'm going to try to keep it on the feet, keep it striking, keep her off me, and can't get too much into the specifics here. I don't want to give away my game plan too much, but I think that I'm going to be able to bring something to the cage that no one's ever seen before. And I think the fact that I've had 3 years off makes it even more dangerous for her, because she has no real footage of anything that I've been doing and working on lately. she can look at my old film, but that was a completely different fighter back then.
All right, well, we're looking forward to seeing that fight. And now, if it's okay, I do want to talk to you a little bit about your time serving this great nation that we live in, with your time in the Air Force there. What exactly made you want to get involved with the U.S. military and join the Air Force?
Several things, actually. I always liked the idea of serving my country, but I wanted to be able to serve my country and still go to college and fulfill my civilian goals as well. So that's how I kind of discovered the Air National Guard. So I kind of get to do both. I get to do the military and the civilian stuff, and it's been a perfect fit for me. Also, my grandpa was in all three branches of the military except the Air Force, so I figured I'd just complete that circle and join the Air Force, and probably the best decision I've ever made.
So, what would you say is harder then, right? Going through fight camp like you are right now, or going through basic training to go off and serve the country?
You know, it's actually funny because I discovered MMA taking a cardio kickboxing class to get in shape for Air Force basic training, and that's how I found out about MMA. Before that, I didn't even know what MMA or jiu-jitsu was, so it's pretty crazy. Um, but I'd say going through basic training was one of the hardest things I had ever done at the age of 19 years old, and not only going through basic training, but becoming an honor graduate of basic training kind of showed me that I could do anything I set my mind to, and that is the mentality I brought into MMA, and I think that that's really helped me overcome a lot of these struggles that I've had with MMA. But if I had to choose right now, I'd say that MMA is probably harder just because it's such a lifestyle. You know, you have to dedicate your whole nutrition and your training schedule, and everything revolves around your fight camp. So I'd say that MMA is probably harder right now than the military.
So, at least one cool thing with the Air Force, I have a friend, a very close friend, that's still doing things with the Air Force. I have a relative that was in the Air Force. You get to travel to different countries, see different things. Have you gotten to travel to different countries and kind of explore around and do different things like that?
I've got to travel to different parts of this country, and then I did get deployed to Al Dhafra Air Base in the Middle East, so I got to see some of the Middle East in my time, but I haven't really gotten to go to too many other countries just because I'm in the Air National Guard, so I'm doing more stateside stuff.
I got you. Was there a favorite Air Force base that you've enjoyed having, spending time at? Like Vegas has one, San Diego has one. There's a few nice areas that have Air Force bases.
Yeah, I'd say Nellis Air Force Base is in Vegas, and I really like that one. I also really liked Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. I absolutely love Arizona. It's probably my favorite state just because it's absolutely beautiful with all of their rock formations and the mountains and stuff. So I loved being at Luke Air Force Base.
And you're still very actively involved with the Air Force. You're doing work right now. You have some future plans where the Air Force is going to take you. So why don't you just talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing now and the plans that you have upcoming? Because right after your fight, you're getting ready to make a move there with the Air Force. So.
Yeah, so I actually just recently cross-trained in the Air Force to metals technology, which is welding and machining aircraft parts. So about 2 weeks after my fight, I'll be heading down to Texas for 3 months to do the tech school training to become a welder and a machinist for the Air Force. And I'm really excited about that. I like the hands-on type jobs, so I'm super excited to get involved in this new career field.
All right. Now, one last thing. This is both MMA related and Air Force related here. There have been plenty of fighters over the years that have served the country, and a lot of them have said, well, you know what? Like, after serving the country and being involved with so many different things, I don't get those fight night jitters. You know, it's not as serious. You know, I've had people shoot at me, and I've been involved with all these secret missions and things like that. Can you relate to that? Like, are you afraid on fight night, or is this kind of more just like a fun thing that you enjoy doing, and because you've done so many hard things in your life like that?
I have done a ton of hard things in my life, but I'm not going to lie to you. It is still very nerve-wracking going into the cage when someone's trying to fight you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that say that they don't get nervous on fight night, but I don't believe them because it's natural. It's perfectly natural to when you're getting in front of a million fans, getting in a cage with someone that's trying to hurt you. Like, it's very nerve-wracking, and I'll keep it real. I'm totally nervous on fight night.
Hey, I don't blame you. I'd be nervous too if I had to step inside there. So, all right, one last thing after this amazing conversation here, just tell everybody where they can find you out on social media. If you have shout outs you have to give to like management sponsors or anybody that you want to give a shout out to, please feel free to do so. Floor is yours.
So you can find me on Facebook at Leonidas MMA, Twitter and Instagram as well at Leonidas MMA. And then I really need to give a shout out to my latest sponsor, which is the United States Concealed Carry Association. I actually teach classes for them. I teach concealed carry classes for them. So I'm super excited that they're now sponsoring me. So I have to give them a good shout out. I want to give a shout out to my coaches, Daniel Wanderley, Ben Tomes, and Joe Nichols. They've helped me tremendously in this fight camp. And then lastly, I want to give a shout out to my managers at Iridium Sports Agency. They've been super supportive of me throughout my whole fight career. So I just got to thank them.
All right, guys, that was Leah Letson. Thanks again so much for the time, Leah, and thank you for your service, too. That's a lot of great things that you've been doing there and serving the country. Really appreciate it, like I appreciate all of the veterans and current men and women in uniform. So again, thank you so much for that, and thank you to you guys for watching this interview here today. Please do me a favor, if you liked today's interview, please go to the bottom and give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, please do so. Also, keep going to MyMMANews.com, checking out our great work. You can also go to our social media pages, give us a like and a follow on there. And if you want to give me a follow on social media, I'm at John Eric Pauli on Instagram and Twitter. We'll see you later, everybody.